But yesterday, Boston was minus 140 to win the NBA title. Today, Boston remains at a minus 140 number to win the NBA championship, and minus 650 to win the Eastern Conference title. So DRS, it's always been that number for Boston, which says to me, I don't think that's going to move much when the official end of this second round does come to a close.
No, it's already baked in. Like, we understand that the Boston Celtics are going to move forward. And also, it's not like the same way you would view some other sports where it's like, okay, every win that Boston gets, that number increases. By the time you get to the NBA Finals, they're a minus 400. Well, think about that. They're a minus 400 to win the championship when the Nuggets would be like a 7-1 price to win it. See how that doesn't make any sense? So you can't move the Celtics all that much more from the minus 140 because you're not playing the Celtics up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. You're not playing the Celtics up against, let's just say, the Pacers and or the Knicks. You're trying to measure up what that finals number is going to be against the Denver Nuggets, against Oklahoma City, against Minnesota, and against Dallas of what that's going to turn out. Because that minus 140 price, I would be surprised. Like, what's the number that's going to hit? Minus 150 as a max here? Because even though we know that, let's just say they get to the finals, they're supposed to win the finals, they have home court advantage, but you can't just give the other team who, again, let's just say it's the Denver Nuggets who survived this series, then also beat OKC, which would be incredible. You're not going to give the Denver Nuggets a plus 240 price to win the NBA Finals when it gets there. These two teams are going to be neck and neck. So I think that price point is about bottomed out right now on the Celtics here, Ben.
And I think it's the same point in the Eastern Conference as well. The C's a minus 650 favorite to win the East. Yesterday, it was minus 600 because of what is happening between Indiana and New York. And obviously, the Celtics' domination here in this second round set against Cleveland. But I don't really think that number moves all that much, despite the fact Boston has been greater than a 10-1 minus money favorite entering both of their playoff series. We'll look at what is happening tonight back inside Madison Square Garden between the Knicks and the Pacers in just a moment. Again, Indiana remains the series outright favorite, and yet New York has a slightly better price to win the Eastern Conference title and a much better price to win an NBA championship. Some of that is indicated with the health of a potential return at some point if the New York Knicks reach that destination of OG Anunoby. But we get ready for game number 5 tonight inside the Mile High City between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. And we have seen a lot of reshuffling in the Western Conference odds, DRS, virtually on a daily basis because of both of these series now being tied at 2 games all, both getting to 2 games apiece in very different formats. But that's where we stand. Denver plus 140, the Western Conference title favorites. OKC, now second best number at plus 260. It's a best of 3 in both. As we entered the best of 7 at the start of this round, this was the order. Denver, OKC, Minnesota, and Dallas, the longest of the 4 teams.
It's funny because as you say this, like we're even up. And yes, home court advantage absolutely matters in 2 of the final 3 games that we're going to find out. But when you take a look at what have you done for me lately stuff, the Minnesota Timberwolves now plus 310 price. The Dallas Mavericks at a plus 470. They were riding high just a few short days ago, both of them because they had the leads in the series. But we saw the Mavericks lose that pivotal game 4 in their own building, now giving home court advantage back to OKC. So now we don't trust the Mavericks. They're down to a 470 price. And the same thing with Minnesota. Nobody could beat them. Minus money price, absolutely hammering the Denver Nuggets. Now they're plus 310. You say to yourself, well, is the series over? Does Denver actually have the lead? No, they don't at this point. And also keep in mind, Minnesota won 2 games already in Denver at this point, so you won't be scared. So if we're looking long-term and saying, where do the numbers make the most sense, you're probably looking towards the Timberwolves for me, and again, OKC at a plus 260 price. That's where I would be headed. I'm not going to throw Minnesota's first 2 games out and say, well, that was just fluke, and they lost the last 2. I expect a big-time performance out of the Minnesota Timberwolves and a possible winning game number 5 as well.
I mean, you can see a couple of similar numbers throughout the 4 teams in the Western Conference. Denver now in a series tied at 2 games apiece, heads back home for game number 5. Denver a 4.5-point favorite tonight. OKC tied in a series at 2 games all. Heads back home last night. Well, I can't really say that. Heads back home tomorrow night, a 4.5-point favorite. Again, the same spread in favor of both of the home teams for game number 5. But where the biggest difference is, the Timberwolves at 8-1 to win an NBA title, $5 in front of the Mavericks at 13-1. Given what is happening in the Eastern Conference, all four teams that remain out west, shorter numbers than any of the three teams not named the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. Again, that's really what things are setting up for right now in those NBA title odds. And I will say this, Donnie, regardless of who you think wins the West, this is probably the longest price you'll get on either the Nuggets or the Thunder, but I'm not sure it's the best value you can get on either of those two teams because there's still a long way to go to get through this second round series and, of course, whatever happens in a Western Conference Finals as well.
Exactly, and that's what we're dealing with both the East and the West. The East is a formality for us right now as it feels, with the Boston Celtics running away. Now, I don't know if that would be the case. Let's see how the Pacers handle that series against the Knicks, because I do think the Pacers give a little bit more of trouble to the Celtics because I believe they can score with them here. But again, it should be the Celtics all the way through. But we get back to that Western Conference, man. You can just flip a coin at this point and say you can make a decision on whether either one of these teams can actually win the NBA championship, and you would get a great argument. Of course, we know the Nuggets can do it. The young up-and-coming here, OKC, has that home court advantage. You take a look at the Mavericks. Do you think they're dead in the water yet with Luka Doncic? Absolutely not. And then the T-Wolves, who I think are the most complete team in the Western Conference at a plus 310 price, who already won 2 games in Denver. The West is so much fun to watch. It's almost like we're just waiting out the East just to see who the Celtics are going to face in the NBA Finals.
Indiana might be Boston's best test because they're just the healthiest entering an Eastern Conference Finals set.